It's time for a major championship on the OG Gambling Syndicate. I'm Joe Giglio, joined as always by Bennett Johnson, the Heister Automotive Group, Josh Goodson, RTP Mortgage, rtpmortgage.com. Gents, we did okay in Quail Hollow last week. It was okay. I mean, we said Rory, it was like a no duh. We'll get into a little bit of that this week because I feel like sometimes you can overthink some things. So if you're new to this program, and we're live today, I'm excited about that. It helps me a little bit on my end in the upload form for our YouTube watchers and our listeners out there. So I'm excited to do that. And if you have any questions, you pop them in there and we'll answer those. But what we do is we go through our first round leaders. Josh Goodson is our specialist in first round leaders. We go through our top 20s. Bennett is our top 20s and our resident golf nerd. He will give you our stats that are relevant to Valhalla this week in the PGA Championship. And, of course, we have winners. We have one and dones. There's other props because this is a major. We're also going to get the winner without Scotty Scheffler this week gambling. So I do like those and any other that kind of pop into our brains. I like those as well. So let's start with our first round leaders, Josh. Well, first, let's start with this thing's at Valhalla. I feel like we've been talking about this for a few weeks. I feel like it's just kind of like a little bit like Quail Hollow. It's going to be there's going to be a bomber's track. Last time I was here in 14, Rory won. He was 16 under. I do think the scoring is going to be low or high, depending on what you want to qualify it. I think it's going to be under par, way under par, double digits under par this week, even though that hasn't been the trend recently in PGA championships. I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be good viewing. I think this is going to be good theater. I think this course sets up for all of the best players in the world, or whoever you think is the best player in the world. That person will show themselves this week in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. It's I'm really worried we're gonna get like Xander and Cantlay like in the mix.
No.
It just feels like, for whatever reason, it just feels like this course, the way it's going to be set up, the way that it's going to be soft. You're going to hear a lot about that. You're going to hear a lot about how much rain. I think they had to cancel practice rounds today. It's supposed to rain up there tomorrow. It's supposed to rain Friday and Saturday. It's going to be who can hit the furthest down in the fairway and then throw darts type thing. And I don't know. I just worry that that sets up to like guys like Patrick Cantlay don't show up whenever it's like real hard, tough conditions, but like throw them out there just to be able to stick darts and such. But I think that setup also will allow a lot of other golfers to be around too.
I'm trying to convince myself that it's a major and this golf course is hard because everyone's, including us, are like, oh, it's so easy, 25 under. So I'm trying to keep my expectation and remember that it is a major championship.
The rough looks thick as hell on all the
rough
videos.
Looks thick, but even the rough, like as I'm doing my deep dive through golf Twitter, like who's on the grounds, it's like, well, the rough is thick, but only where the patrons are standing. So it's like you have to be 45 yards from the middle of the fairway to get into the thick stuff. So
I think I know why we think it's going to be easy. They played the Ryder Cup here.
2008.
Yeah. And it was basically set up for scoring.
Yeah.
So to your point, maybe Bennett, you can set up a golf course as hard as you want it to be. I just, and Josh, you made this point a couple weeks ago when I brought this up about the PGA Championship of late. BK wins last year. Brooks Koepka wins last year in Oak Hill, 9 under. JT wins at Quail Hollow, 5 under. Lefty wins at Kiowa, 6 under. Morikawa out in Cali wins 13 under. BK at Bethpage, 8 under. So, that's the last 5 champions, and 4 of them have been in single digits. I just think they'll set this up. I mean, the course, Rory has already won there in 14. And I don't know what value that has. Okay, I'm just pointing out that he's won there in 14. The course was made for Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy to play their best golf. That's how the course was made.
And listen, what the PGA was not anticipating when they decided that 2 years ago when they chose this course was Rory filing for divorce yesterday. and Scotty Scheffler having a baby.
Having a baby, having their own distractions. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just.
but I also
I
think
look at the top.
Koepka, I mean, all those guys. It just sets up for their games.
Golf in 2014 was kind of like in a weird post-Tiger, pre-Spieth, post-Tiger like prime. Rory was kind of the guy. So Rory won, and him winning was not like a surprise to me. He had already won the Open Championship. He had won Firestone the week before. But here's some other when I just think I don't want to say in hindsight, looking at it now, when you have a top 10 of Rory and Phil, that's fine. Phil was still pretty, I would say pretty prime Phil-ish for the most part. So him finishing second, not crazy. Here's some other names in the top 10. Ricky.
This was the turn I thought Ricky was going to win. This was the major.
Hunter Mahan, Steve Stricker, Jimmy Walker, Jason Day was up there pretty good. Brant Snedeker was up there pretty good. Very, I don't want to say, none of those names strike me as they're going to win on the hardest conditions type.
No, but those are ball strikers though. So now you're really talking me around in circles here. Your Steve Strickers, your
but
Rickies.
they were never going to win the hardest tricked up course that was out. I mean, it was just they were finishing. When did we ever hear about Steve Stricker in the top 10 of a major?
You're trying to convince yourself Cantlay's going to win, aren't you? Are you using this? Are you using these talking points to walk to
I don't want him to. It just feels like I think that's where my narrative of it feels like an easier track. Kind of this is where it's coming from, and so when I think of who's someone off the wall that maybe we're not talking about, that's the non-Scheffler, Rory, Brooks world, it brings me back to Patrick Cantlay doesn't win shit ever that means anything. Sorry. But this is the course that it feels like allows a lot of guys like that to show up and be in the top 10, be around the leaderboard type scenario. Does that make any sense? Kind of where I'm coming from?
You mean a small ball striker like Abraham Answer, maybe?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Josh, you are the master of first round leaders and our partnership.
We sniffed. Yeah. We had Alex Noren, but Xander, who also doesn't win shit, but decided to shoot 7 under last Thursday. Just annoying.
It was frustrating last week, for sure. But what we typically do for first round leaders, and Josh, you're pretty good at this in the sense that you put $25. You usually pick about 12 guys. I don't know how many you have this week. You don't necessarily look at the tee times. I do have the tee times up as well that I can share with people. So let's start with the actual odds themselves. So what we do for first round leaders, if you're new, first round leader, you're going to get great odds. As you can already see, you're like, wow, you can get a $1,400 return on a $100 bet on Scotty Scheffler. Well, yeah, because he has to beat all the other golfers in that first round, and it's just one round. And we are talking about the best golfers in the world. And the more you move down the board, the more you realize there is real value in this. But what we typically do, Josh, is we put $25 on these. Or in your case, sometimes you say you'll bump it up to make sure you get the $1,000 payout.
Sure.
So I'm going to go by odds here. And like I said, you typically don't go by start time, but I'm a little bit more of a believer that the early group is the group that's going to get you the first round leader. But these are from DraftKings. They're our partner, our official gambling partner of the OG. Use the promo code OG24 and you can get $200 in bonus bets with your first wager on DraftKings. Again, that promo code is OG24. And big thanks to DraftKings for partnering with us here at the OG Media Company. All right, Josh, let's get into our first round leader bets.
Yeah, kind of a mix of how it's going to be. We already talked about it. Going to be soft-ish, birdies, premium. Just think of guys that we can go out there and throw a bunch of birdies up on the card. Recent form, how you kind of did last week, maybe at Quail, because there's a lot of relationships between Quail and Valhalla. So there was just a bunch of and just how you do in majors to an extent, get racing out in front. Charlie Hoffman didn't get known as where the hell is Charlie Hoffman and first round Charlie without showing up to Augusta seemingly every year and having the overnight lead after the first round. So certain guys just end up doing that. So that's how I kind of started with this. First one on the board by odds was I took Bryson. Bryson, 3,500, did lead the Masters after round one. And I think this sets up for Bryson this week.
You cashed, by the way.
Cash Bryson for the Masters, correct. I think this sets up for Bryson. Bomber, you're not going to get too worried about, like, there's not going to be a ton of roll this week, one would think, because of all the moisture and all, how wet everything's going to be. So that's going to give him even more of an advantage, assuming if he hits the fairways, have more shorter clubs in. So 35 plus 3,500 my first one. Second one was Wyndham Clark, 4,500. He actually didn't play well last week in Charlotte, which was a little surprising, but he seems to be one of the guys, we talked about it last week, who outside of Scotty has shown up at the biggest events since he won the Wells Fargo last year. So yeah. Wyndham was another one at 4,500. Keep going down. A little bit of home cooking. JT at 50 to 1, I couldn't turn away. You've got to think, like, it's like anything, but if a guy's gonna maybe get it together for a week or get it together for a day, why not the guy who's from there, who's still got some good game and can go out there and hopefully post a low number on Thursday. Sahith is kind of the first fit my mold of, like, he can shoot a 64 in a heartbeat and make it pretty easy to score, make a lot of birdies, 55 to 1. Jason Day, you may hear this name later as well. He played well last week. Well. He's been playing well this year for the most part. He is definitely trending this year. 6,000 to 1 or plus 6,000, I thought was really, really good odds for him. I think it ended up having 13 total. Højgaard, Nikolai started out really, really well, was kind of around in Augusta for the most part. So I think having been there in a major setting, 7,500 was a really good number for him. Alex Noren started well last week. He's also a guy that's just been playing well.
Yes.
This year, 8,000 for him. Jake Knapp,
also balling.
He's just balling, and like he'll also, I forget which tournament he was. He made like a 15 on a hole or something like that. Also, but like the dude plus 10,000, I couldn't turn away from it. He seems like a guy that can make a lot of birdies. Definitely has confidence this year. He was one. Keegan plus 10,000, and also Ryan Fox plus 10,000. Ryan Fox is a guy that started out pretty well in Augusta as well, so has form coming in terms of playing in majors. Your guy from last week, I think we talked to him, Cam Davis, plus 10,000 as well, was on my list. And then I had three more. Chris Gotterup, dude just won last week. Yeah. Myrtle Beach. He had to shoot 25 under or whatever it was to win. So definitely went low. Guys, we have seen this year a history of guy who wins or guy who plays well generally backs it up the next round for whatever reason. They don't get the worry of like they poured it out or anything like that. They're feeling good, feeling confident. And then the last two, Aaron Rye, plus 13,000. He's a guy that's been playing well this year. And then my last one, just because he got me a first-round leader play earlier this year, I couldn't look away from the value. Sammy Valimaki, my guy, plus 18,000, I believe.
Wow.
Sammy's.
Wow, we are down the board there. We are definitely down the board.
I had to turn away from Peter Malnati. I mean, this is the strong. I mean, I think it's like I'm talking about. It's the deepest field in golf you'll see all year.
Yeah.
So with the guys that have played the best in golf in theory this whole year. So
absolutely. And if you're looking for the best mortgage in town, in the Triangle, RTP Mortgage, rtpmortgage.com. That's Josh Goodson, 252-361-1415. Again, 252-361-1415. Give him a call. rtpmortgage.com. Josh, we got good news in the market. What do we have in the market?
It's the good news is nothing bad happening recently. Rates have kind of like settled around that 7% range for the most part. We're just waiting. Kind of mortgage rates are so dependent on what's going on in the economy and the world. So we're just kind of waiting for the next batch of data to come in to see which way rates are going to go in the short term. But still solid. What's crazy, and I feel like a broken record, is with elevated rates, I'm still running into many times where I have clients who are in multiple offer situations to buy a house. So the housing market still pretty solid, and it's a very competitive market as well. And then once rates do drop, it will get even crazier. So I just say, I don't make your monthly payment. But if you're in the market to want to buy a house, then you better do it sooner than later, because waiting is not the right answer.
Waiting is definitely not the right answer. And Bennett is joining us. Oh, see, I thought this is Bennett's ticket. That's funny. We are on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, and not only can you buy cars from the Heister Automotive Group, you can sell yours, and maybe they can help you, like me, with some tires, maybe with a little tune-up action. Mice, getting rid of some mice. Overall car maintenance. How about that? How does that sound as more of a selling point than the mice, Bennett?
And we can do better than that. You can actually download our app, Giglio, and tell us. Yes. So on whatever app store, Google Play, Apple, download our app. You can set your service appointment online. It'll tell you the exact time to drop it off. We'll come pick up your vehicle, even if it has mice in the front seat like Giglio's. Yeah. We will still come pick it up for you.
The ventilation system there somewhere. So yes, you can give Bennett a call, 919-524-3348. Or go to HeisterAuto.com. I know some people like to save that number and text you for top 20s. That's fine. That's fine. 919-524-3348. All right, let's get into those top 20s. The way I'm looking at it this week, I'm with you, Josh. I think this is a great field, and I think there is some pretty decent value in those top 20s, because normally, Bennett, you like to, we like to start our bets by trying to get the best money, right? Yeah. I think everyone is. But then you realize, now wait a second, I need to make some money back on this tournament somehow. And normally that's with a top 20 bet. So that's where some of your smartness and your nerdiness and your golf knowledge comes in. So who do we have this week that you like for top 20 at the PGA Championship?
So I have, do you want some nerd data now, or do you want to wait on that?
Well, go crazy.
Okay. So last week we were like all over. We were all over Sepp Straka. We were all over Ben On, and we were all over Rory as the winner, even though, to your point, Giglio, it's a hard gamble to pick Rory pre-flop with the number with what it was. So we're telling you, and we've done this with Scotty twice this year too, they're going to win the tournament. Probably still not a wise investment. This week, I think you do have to take the wise investment route. Number one, this week there's 156 guys in the field. So to hit a top 20, your guy has to be balling. I mean, this is not the time to try to, Alex Smalley it to death here and choose someone at the bottom of the board. You want to choose people that are well-known major players. I have, like we mentioned, we're trying to convince ourselves that this course is hard. Justin Thomas, Max Homa, in their press conferences today, both basically said exactly the same thing. And it leads me to believe it's going to be a winner of serious magnitude. You have to hit a driver straight really far, and you have to be a long iron player. So your top 20 guys, if you're going to put money in the top 20 game, you don't want to be choosing short players. You want to be choosing bombers. So I've went with two players that have performed in the last 2 years in majors. One's a LIV Tour player. One's a PGA Tour player. One might be no, not that low. One might be the one player on tour that does not get enough credit ever. And I don't really like him. And we've texted about this. Wyndham Clark is plus 170 for a top 20.
It's pretty good value.
Surprisingly.
Why?
I don't understand. And it's because I think we've texted about this.
Is he just?
I don't think the public likes him.
He's not like a public guy yet.
I don't think anyone publicly likes him. I just don't think his name rings a bell. I don't think he's, he doesn't give flashy interviews. He doesn't have 1 million followers on TikTok. He's just very plain Jane, but he shows up in the majors. Long ball player, really good putter on fast greens. So Saturday, Sunday, if the greens do get back up, they were supposed to be running 13 on the stimp meter. So rain dependent. I like Wyndham Clark. I actually like Wyndham to win the tournament. I could see him being there at the end, but plus 170 value, top 20 is really good. Secondly is another guy that in the last 5 years, he's right there on the page, consistently performed in majors, Cameron Smith. I think of all the top players that have went to LIV that have maybe, I don't want to say hurt their game, but maybe turned off at least the public and potentially actually deep down hurt Cameron Smith, I think he has been injured, so to speak, by going to Live. Before going to Live, he was, an odds-on favorite every major.
Yeah.
But he's plus 165. He knows how to play in big-time tour events. Great putter, knows how to play in rough. Even though he's a small stature, he is a long ball hitter. He's actually 4th on Live Tour in total driving. So he's driving the ball well. He's a major player.
I just jumped to my top 20 pick because this guy has been whinging so much and has been saying some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard somebody say that I'm taking him. Taylor Gooch. Taylor Gooch, top 20. It's time for this guy to play or just shut the fuck up and never talk again. Like, he has to ball out this week. And he is a longer type player. It is a course for him to actually perform at. So I'm taking him top 20.
I kind of appreciate that. There is something to the effect of, like, if you're going to talk your talk, dude, like, go back it up.
And if you don't follow that much of golf, Taylor Gooch is like the #1 affected player on the Live Tour because he doesn't have a major championship, so he doesn't qualify for these events. He has to like beg his way into these tournaments now because he's no longer a top 50 player in the world because he can't get points from the official world golf ranking for playing in the Live events. But he has played well on the Live events, and he had the audacity to say if Scheffler won at the Masters that it wouldn't count because he wasn't there. Like, that's like, come on, man. That's so preposterous that it leads me to believe you must be feeling yourself. And I think he won a PGA event in the state of Texas 2 or 3 years ago. He is a good player. He probably is a top 50 player in the world. I just think it's hysterical that he ran his mouth the way that he did. So I'm taking him in the top 20. I don't feel great about it, but I'm just like, you know what? Just show me just a little bit. Josh, you have a top 20 for me?
Yeah, I had 2. One of them was Jason Day plus 210. The value
still good value, man, because he's dressing ridiculously with these pants. I don't know what he's doing, but he's been playing really well.
He's like a PGA Championship aficionado. He's actually got the hardware. He would be somebody I would be calling him a Cantlay-ish type guy if he didn't have the hardware already too. He just seems like a easier-ish course, easier-ish setup, goes out there and just like shoots 67 every day and like is in contention. And my other one, I'm gonna be there for it. Now this is just top 20, but plus 160. The dude has 7 of the last 9 majors. He's finished in the top 20 7 times.
I mean, we need to get Tommy Fleetwood on this program.
We really do. I'm gonna
be there for it. I will have a piece of him as the winner. I think he's like 40 or 50 to 1. I don't love it because Tommy seems to be a guy that like doesn't need it to be super soft and dart fest, and he needs it a little bit harder and such. But he is a great long iron player too. So he's not as long as some of these guys off the tee, but he is traditionally one of the better long iron players and such.
I'm going to throw one more top 20 in there because Brooks Koepka's won this tournament 3 times. Yeah. The last 6 times it's been played, and he did not play well in the Masters. He did not, and he burned me. And I'm not exactly thrilled with him, but those are the kind of people who come back and you're like, oh, now you want to show up. That's actually not bad value for top 20 guys. Minus 120.
I've been bad about parlaying. So these top 20 things are like parlay cocaine.
Boosters, little boosters.
You just go through the list. It's like we could sit here today talking like Brooks, Tommy Fleetwood, and Jason Day to all just the 3 guys that finished in the top 20, and that would be a payout of what plus 600 or 800. You're like, that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna add BK to my top 20s as well. Before we get into winners and winners without Scotty Scheffler, one and done. We've actually done well. This is my only contribution to this program has been one and dones. I'm now second in Jordan Hudson's pool, Josh, after hitting Rory last week. So I've picked Scheffler when he won, and I've picked Rory when he won. They're both elevated events. That's obviously very helpful. And now here's the part where you say, congratulations, Joe. You picked the 2 best players in the world to win the weeks that they actually won. This is where it gets a little bit harder. I mentioned Brooks Koepka. He was my pick for the Masters, so that didn't exactly help me a whole bunch. I'm really tempted to go Jon Rahm here because, again, I think we're overlooking him. You mentioned Cam Smith as one of the guys who was really hurt by the move to live hurt, other, not financially, obviously, but otherwise, maybe professionally. I don't know what's up with Rahm. He did not play well in Augusta. He really wasn't a factor at Augusta. He has 2 major championships at 29 years old. There's a little bit of a race here, right? Scotty Scheffler's got 2 major championships at 27 years old. BK's got 5. Rory's got 4. Rory's a little bit older than that group.
Colin. You have Colin.
Yeah, Colin's got 2, right?
2. Yeah.
So, the way I kind of look at this, I think Rahm is going to show up this week. But honestly, and Bennett's going to try to talk me out of this forever, I do not think Scotty Scheffler is going to win in Pinehurst. I think Jon Rahm or Cam Smith have the game to win in Pinehurst. So I'm going to save Jon Rahm. I don't like Cam Smith on this track. I know you mentioned him for the top 20. I am going to go with the guy who is this year's Will Zalatoris, who is last year's Victor Hovland. I'm going to go with Ludwig Åberg. I think he's going to be in the top 10 again. I think he's going to be in the top 5, top 10 of all the majors this year. And he'll have the year that Zally had in 22. He'll have the year that Hove had last year. A young guy. There's no reason this track, he can't play well on this track. I don't think of him as a traditional bomber, but obviously he hits the snot out of the ball. So I'm going Åberg on my one and done. Do you guys have one and dones, or you just want to get into winners?
My quick one and done is, and I've kind of taken the same. Well, you kind of threw me there. I thought you'd go with the live guy. I've been taking live guys in the majors, which obviously can't the rest of the year. I can see this being a Brooks Koepka type event. I mean, he just fits the mold of everything we're talking about. Bomber, you can only, use live guys a certain amount of time. Not the time, to use like a Cam Smith as a one and done type guy. I just think it's, you got to be a long hitter. I'll talk about that in the a little bit later. But
did you save Scheffler for the Masters?
No, I'm holding the Scotty card.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Josh, you have a one and done?
We have to pick 2 in the one I'm in, and we picked Rory. We have not used Rory this year, so we have Rory as 1, and then we utilized the other pick for a live guy because we can't use them but so many times. We actually took Bryson.
Yeah, I like it.
I just think he's been playing well, and I think the conditions are going to set up well for him.
Good call.
And also, Scotty, remember, he doesn't win out past April. He's got that crazy. He just doesn't win anything after when the calendar flips to May. So that's what's so bizarre of his overall record and such. He's only won in February, March, and April.
All right, I think we've delayed it long enough. Let's get into the winners. Scotty Scheffler is a 4-1 favorite to win a major championship. That's not a misprint. That's so wild to me. 4-1. That's amazing. That's such a bad return pre-flop. But we could all sit here and be like on Saturday, yep. Suddenly that minus 150, you're kicking yourself for not taking the plus 400. This thing is just set up for him to win. Rory plus 750 is your second, and then get the heck out of here with the X-Man. I'll take all of your X-Man action. Venmo is at Giglio Joe. Send it all to me. Save yourself some money. I'll split it with you after he loses. Okay. BK 16-1, Åberg, who I mentioned, 22-1, DeChambeau, the big boy, 28. Not a bad number. I'm trying to think of other tickets I have. I have a Wyndham ticket, 40-1. So these are all and your boy, Tommy Fleetwood, 50-1. I would love to see that happen, but I kind of sort of wanted to be in Pinehurst, Josh, so that you could be down there and see it in person. So I'll start.
Josh will actually hand Tommy the trophy.
Yeah, really should. I kind of like him getting the picture with Kevin Keats after winning the ACC championship. All right, Bennett, let's start with you. Let's do it both ways. And if you could pick them both ways, because we actually have odds for both. You could say winner, or you could say winner without Scheffler, because the odds without Scheffler are actually pretty good.
Pretty good. So, as you guys know, I don't typically go with the favorites. I try to find someone in the middle of the board, but 11 of the last 13 PGA Championship winners were 40 plus 4,500 or shorter odds. So that's the whole list right there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 guys. So this is literally what I just did 2 hours ago trying to pick this. On this list, I don't think Abraham Ancer is going to win. I don't like Victor Hovland not playing well. Joaquin Niemann, I'm not convinced that he's not actually hurt. Oberg, I actually think, is hurt. Although if he wasn't, I love this course for him. So that takes basically half of them off. So I'm going to do something this week that I never do. I'm going to pick both favorites to win, Scotty and Rory. DraftKings just moved right before we got on here, but Rory was plus 750. Scotty had just moved maybe 50. I'm not sure where he stands as we record now, but very rare do I go with the favorites. But when you look at this course, it is a straight bombers, absolute paradise. You need long iron play. Those are the best long iron players in the world. Everyone makes fun of Scotty's putting, but how does he keep winning if he's not a good putter? So I like Rory. You know, I picked Rory last week. I always say he plays the week before, too good the week before. Yeah. But when you watched him play last week, and the thing that I like about Rory this week, because everyone's like, oh, divorce, you know, he's all over TMZ. You know, everything is, you know, his press conference today was just absolute mayhem. He won on Sunday with the round of the year, knowing all of that was going on in the background. It did not bother him. So in 2014, which was when he broke up with, I don't know if you saw this, Caroline Wozniacki. Yeah. He ended up winning 2 majors that year, one of those being 2014 at Valhalla. He went on to win the British Open that year as well. I like Rory this weekend. He's going to be in that final group. I really think so. So if it was Rory, Scotty, that would make up for the absolute boringness of this entire PGA Tour season.
Yeah. Josh, who you like?
Again, I'm going to throw some personal on Tommy, but for this, you talked about Taylor Gooch, and it's like, yo, man, you talk all the talk, back it up. Somebody that's he hasn't come out and been like super. He's very cocky, but he's also confident. Who's talked in the past and usually backs it up. Brooks has been talking this week about like he was pissed after the Masters.
Yeah,
like,
he was bad.
Embarrassed, like he came out and said it himself, like embarrassed about what happened in the Masters. He won last week on the Live Tour. Last year, he won the tournament prior to going to Oak Hill. The dude, whenever he says something, like he had the famous quote of like, "How are you so good in how are you so good in majors?" And he's like, "Well, like half the people are just going to get scared." And he kind of broke it down of like, "Well, these half like just aren't good." Then the half left are like scared to death at majors. So he's like, I only have to beat like 10 guys at the end of the day. And I thought that was just like, whenever he said that, I was just like a great, just like exactly perfect. But I like Brooks. I think it sets up well for him, and he is a PGA Championship specialist. I mean, he's used to how they set it up, and I think he's ready to go out there. Bennett, I think you said something to the effect of like, it's gonna be a lot of putting to the green, you know, a 2-putt master. Yeah. What it is, Brooks is the best at that, essentially. So.
Now, I'm in concert with you guys. I really do think it will be the top of the board. And past Fleetwood, Josh, is there anyone down the board that you think it's worth putting, you know, even $25 on because you'd get a real good return on?
Yeah, well, I always caution, like, I love live odds for that, but like pre-flop, I don't hate. Like I said, Jason Day, I've mentioned him. I think he's 65 plus 6,500. He is a major champion. Is playing well. I didn't hate him. I was trying to like talk myself into some other guys, but beyond that, it's just like I can't see
Here's
it.
My guy.
I tried to talk myself into Sepp Straka, but I talked myself out of it. There's only 3 par 5s
right now.
I'm just worried that he's not going to be able to keep up with par 5 score. Only 3 par 5s, par 71. If it really is a ball striking contest, yeah, maybe he can hang in there. I just wonder about if it becomes a real big boy showdown. But last week, I mean, that's what it was, and he hung right in there. So,
yeah,
he's been. Here's his last 3 tournaments: tied for 16, tied for 5th, tied for 8th. I mean, and by the way, the last 3 tournaments he's played in: the Masters, the Heritage, and Quail Hollow. So this isn't like he's going to Bermuda and racking up against off-site fields here. Like I just think he's dialed in. I took him, obviously. I put $25 on him. I got a little piece of Sepp because I think he was worth taking a bit of a flyer on. So All right, gents, let's have some good luck this week. And I Bennett, I got a chance to go out to Raleigh Country Club in the rain today and see the first 9 holes at least for our Corn Ferry madness coming up. I'm sure you'll have some math and some homework for us for that. It's in 2 weeks, so looking forward to that. But obviously a big week. Appreciate everyone for joining us today. And if you can, hit that button, subscribe, and 5 stars only, positive vibes only here on the OG Gambling Syndicate. Best of luck to both you, Bennett and Josh, and best of luck to everyone out there. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.
Good stuff.